My pleasure. My dear friends, Parshas Yisro. V'ishma Yisro Kohen Midyan Choten Moshe. Yisro heard, the father-in-law of Moshe, et kol asher asa Hashem leMoshe u'Yisrael. He heard everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu did for Moshe Rabbeinu. A nice parasha of the father-in-law coming to visit his son-in-law Yitro, coming to visit Moshe Rabbeinu. A big celebration. We'll elaborate, and also Matan Torah Kedosha. But just to start off, the Torah Kedosha tells us, "V'biyom hashlishi b'yot haboker v'yu kolot." On the third day, in the morning, there was a lot of kolot, a lot of sound, noises, voices. So the Siftei Kohen says, what were these kolot? What were these voices? And he says here with the kolot of the malachei hasharis, the malachim were crying because they were losing the Torah. The Torah was in Shamayim, and Hashem is giving it to man. Vayihi, we said this last week, the Vav of Vayihi is Lashon Tsar. It's a Lashon of anguish. Vayihi bayom hashlishi was anguish in Shamayim. Why? B'shah sha'ala Moshe l'marom, when Moshe Rabbeinu went to Shamayim, he went to the heavens. Malachi Asharis said, Mali uladi shapo, what is this mortal doing here? HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, Lekabel ta Torah. Let to be Mekabel Torah. So they said, Ribono shel olam, Hashem, Chemda gnuza lefanech, you have this desire thing, Tshah me'od v'shivim v'arba dorot kodim shenivra olam, you have this thing 974 generations before creation of the world. And you delight in it all day, every day you delight in this Torah, and you want to give it and you want to give it to a mortal. You can give the Torah. It was a big anguish in Shamayim. What are you getting involved in, man? Leave your glory in Shamayim. And all of a sudden it says Biyot Boker, it's in the morning. What's going on in the morning? All of a sudden some sort of zechus got agitated in the morning. From we learned Vayashkem Avraham Baboker. Avraham Avinu got up in the morning. The Boker has some sort of zechus for Klal Yisrael because we have it. We have it from Avraham Avinu where he started his mitzvot, he couldn't wait. When Avraham Avinu imbued into us that don't wait, don't delay, a mitzvah comes your way, al tachmitzen, don't delay, there was a schos already. In Shamayim it caused a ruckus, and the malachim already started crying. What was their time? What was going on? What were the malachim saying? What broke it? What was going on over here? Like, leave your Torah in Shamayim, give it to mortal. What's going on? So listen to this Gemara. The Gemara Bava Basra says Rav Yosef fainted. Rav Yosef fainted, and they brought him back. And he was telling his father, he was this Gemara, he was telling his father, he fainted, like his neshama came out of him. And his father, they brought him back, and he told his father, Rabbi Yeshua, that he saw what was going on in Shamayim. What's going on in Marom. And remember this? And what did he see? Kiva, what did he see? Olam hafuch. It's an upside down world. Heard that before? Olam hafuch haiti. I saw an upside down world. Elyonim lemata, those that were above are now down. V'tachtonim lemala, what was below is up. It's like everything's upside down. What's great over here is low over there. What's low over here is great over there. Olam hafuch. And his father said, no. Olam barur haita. You saw a clear world. Over there, everything is clear. Everything is where it's supposed to be. In the world we're in, everything is upside down. The Malachim's claim was, what are you giving the Torah in this world? Hashem, why are you giving the Torah down to this world? Everything's backwards in this world. Leave it where everything is yashar. Everything is yashar in the up world. Why are you leaving it over there? And the answer is because the Torah makes everything straight down here below. Over there, everything is straight already. Those who keep the Torah, who learn the Torah and follows the ways of Torah Kedosha, you'll see something straight. The father told the son, let me ask you, where were we in Olam Haba? How do we look? And he said, just like we're great up there, just like we're great down here, we're great up there as well. And he says, yeah, you know why? Because when you keep the Torah, it makes what's crooked straight. Avraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, right? They're known as the Yesharim. Et Yesharim Sodo. Sefer Bereshis is called Sefer HaYashar. It's called Yashar because Abraham is Yashar, Yitzchak is Yashar, and Yaakov is Yashar. It puts us in the world where things look crooked and it looks like Hafuch, Olam Hafuch Ha'iti. It's an upside down world here. With the Torah Kedosha, it gives you Yashrut. Because Ner Mitzvah ve Torah Or. A Ner is Mitzvah, Torah is light. And it brings light in the darkness and it makes things that are crooked straight. The Parashah tells us, Veishma Yitro, Kohen Midian Choten Moshe, heard everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu did for Moshe Rabbeinu and for Klal Yisrael. And Moshe Rabbeinu says over to the story, the whole entire story. Why did Yisro come? Anybody know? Why did Yisro come now? Yisro came now because we just said, right? He just heard everything that happened. Melchemet Amalek, very good. Melchemet Amalek. He heard the Kriyat Yam Suf. He heard the Eslam Makot. Right, Shmuel? He heard everything that happened in the world. But so what? Everybody else also heard. Everybody heard what happened in the world. The Medrash says when the sea split by Kriyat Yam Suf, all the waters of the world split.
How did news spread so fast?
You just heard? When the waters split in Kriyat Yam Suf, all the waters of the world split. So you're having a cup of water, it split. Wherever you are, everything split. What's going on? Oh, you know what's going on? The word spread very fast of what's going on. The whole world heard. The whole world, the exodus of what was going on in Mitzrayim was complete chaos. Complete chaos what was going on in Mitzrayim. The Esel Makot, the Yetzias Mitzrayim, unheard of. Nobody left Mitzrayim. The whole world heard. So why was Yisro any different? You know why he was different? Because he came. Like Uriel said, he came. And Rav Gifter said, what was he coming to hear? He heard the whole thing already. He was coming to hear a true perspective. You know, sometimes you hear politics, let's say in the dining room in yeshiva, downstairs. You'll hear some politics. So all of a sudden you're a politician. What'd you hear? You didn't hear from a politician. You heard a couple of politics, but who'd you hear it from? Who'd you hear it from? What, because you saw some sort of ad or you read an article on medicine, so all of a sudden, like, you're a doctor? Because you're wearing a shirt that says Bill Gates, so you're a billionaire? Like what? Just because you saw something, you metamorphosize into something else? You have to hear it from the right place. Yitro came to hear the Torah perspective of it. To hear where it's coming from, what's the hashkafa, what's the tafkid, what's the ratzon, what's the tachlis, what's the derech, what's true, the real Torah perspective. Otherwise you're formulating your own illusions and you're coming up with your own reasons of why something happened. Parashat Yitro came, he heard something for real. Yitro was a searcher. It says, Ata yadati ki gadol Hashem mikol Elokim. Yitro said, now I know Hashem is greater than all other gods. Yitro, Rashi says, Melamed shaya makir b'chol avodat kochavim sheba'olam. He tried everything. He tried all the avodah zaras of the world. He tried everything out until he finally came to the conclusion of Hashem. That was Yitro. Yitro tried everything. Like Uriel said, they made a big Sudan now. They're celebrating because he came to be Megayer. Vishma Yitro, he heard, the Medrash says he got goosebumps. He heard the story over, he was getting goosebumps, he was so excited. Vikach Yitro choten Moshe olaus vachim la'elokim. He brought korbanot to Hashem. He brought korbanos to Hashem. Aharon and the Zekanim came. The Ziknei Yisrael lechol lechem im choten Moshe lifnei Elokim, to eat with choten Moshe lifnei Elokim. What's going on over here? Yitro brought korbanos, and the Zekanim brought Aaron, who came with the Zekanim, to eat bread in front of Hashem. What was going on over here? We're entering into the mentality of a guy. This is a shtickle while. Listen to this. This is the mentality of a guy versus a yid. Yitro was a guy. Yitro is bringing korban. The korban that he was bringing gets completely consumed on the mizbeach. Because a guy can't understand how something could be for you and Hashem at the same time. How could something be for me and for Hashem at the same time? A
guy can't?
Cannot understand. A guy is allowed to bring a korban in the Beit HaMikdash, but only one that gets completely consumed on the mizbeach. We bring a shlamim. You bring a korban that some of it gets burnt on the mizbeach, and also you partake of something else. But a guy in the goyish mentality, Hashem is one thing and you're another thing. And the idea is that you have to detach yourself from everything in the world to be a man of God in the goyish world. It's a priest gets married to God, so to speak. Yeah,
right.
Meaning they don't get married. They don't get married, right? They're celibacy. You don't get married because they're mukdash. In fact, it's a busha in their religion. There's something that Eliyahu Kitov talks about, Yerech Dvash. Yerech Dvash is a honeymoon. What's a honeymoon? A honeymoon is after marriage, they go away. Why do they go away? Honeymoon, they went away for a month, for Yerech. They went away for a whole month. You know why? It's a busha. Because you didn't succeed in that world, in the religious world, and you got married, you fell to your temptation, and they disappeared for a month. For us, it's a davar kadosh ad me'od. For us, it's a super holy thing. Not only that, you ain't going nowhere. Shever brachas, the next 7 days, I want to see you in front of everyone all day, every day. Every day, you're not going anywhere. It's a davar kadosh ad me'od. By us, we sell a sefer Torah to marry off somebody. We'll do whatever it takes to get somebody married. There's a big difference. They say the Gashmius takes you away from spirituality. By us, we take the Gashmius and we make it into Ruchnius. We take wine, we make it into Kiddush. You take bread, you make it into Hamotzi. You take a table, you make it into a Shulchan, has a status of a Mizbeach. You take an item, you make it into a mitzvah. We're Makdish everything we have. In the Goyish mentality, it doesn't exist. A Nazir who separates himself from the world and he doesn't drink wine and he doesn't cut his hair, at the end he has to bring a korban. Because Hashem gave you a world to enjoy and to use for Kedusha, and he stayed away from it. The Kotzker Rebbe says, Hashemayim Shemayim LaHashem, Va'aretz Natan Livnei Adam. Hashemayim Shemayim LaHashem, Ha'aretz He gave to Bnei Adam to make it into a Shemayim. Hashemayim Shemayim LaHashem, and the Aretz He gave to you to make Kadosh like Shemayim. Natan Livnei Adam, that you should make it Kadosh LaShemayim. A person could be Makdish anything. If you have in mind to go to sleep so you can have energy to learn, the whole time it's a mitzvah. The Rambam brings down, if you hire somebody to cut down a tree, so he has his axe and he starts chopping at the tree, chopping and chopping and chopping and chopping. Then he has to stop to sharpen the knife so he can continue chopping the tree. You have to pay him for the time he spent sharpening the knife, because that's part of the process of cutting down the tree. HaKadosh Baruch Hu put us in this world in a mission, and sometimes you need a break, sometimes you need to exercise, sometimes you need to go fishing, sometimes you need whatever it is that you need in order that you can continue your mission in the world. That's part of the mitzvah. That's part of the mitzvah of something that you're doing. It's called the osek b'mitzvah. The Mishnah Berurah brings down, you're burying somebody. You're burying somebody. It's hard, you're digging and digging and digging. And you take a break. You sit down, you take a snapple, and the mitzvah comes your way. You're called the osek b'mitzvah, patur min mitzvah. You're patur from another mitzvah. What do you mean I'm patur from a mitzvah? I'm sitting down, I'm drinking a snapple, I'm regaining my energy. But I'm doing that so I can continue doing what I was doing. That's called I'm busy doing a mitzvah right now. I'm called the osek b'mitzvah right now, even though I'm resting, but I need that rest to continue doing what I was doing, the mitzvah that I was busy with. That's called osek b'mitzvah. A person could do everything in this world, the Shem Shemayim, for good things. Your focus is good. We use the gashmiut of the world. Every simcha we have, there's food. If somebody's nifter, make a bracha, li'ilui nishmat. Do something little. We take something physical and make it a davar ruchani. In our world, we take the world that HaKadosh Baruch Hu put us in, this physical world, and we make it into ruchnius dikazachin. Very, very ruchnius dikazachin. The Gemara in Yuma says that the Chorban Bayis Rishon, Shelo Barchu B'Torah Tchila, there's a Chorban Bayis Rishon because it didn't make a bracha, didn't make a Birkat Torah. It's a very funny thing, no? Lo Birchu B'Torah Tchila. Before they started learning, they didn't make a bracha. That's why the first base of Mikdash was destroyed. It's a very funny thing, no? We make a bracha in the morning. What's the big deal? Not only that, what took them so long to make a bracha? Like, how long does it take to make a bracha? Birchas Torah. It's not such a big deal. There's a shayla in the Gemara in Sukkah. The Gemara in Sukkah asks Sazai, you make a bracha on the Torah, how many times a day you make a bracha on the Torah, Ash?
Twice.
Birchas Torah. How many brachas? One time, right? You make a bracha ala Torah one time. Yeah, but you make a bracha once. Meaning for the bracha itself, one time. It could be ein chanami. You're right, but the bracha that you make is one time in the morning, and it's good for all day. Let's say you didn't learn right after Shacharis, right? Chazal, if you look in the Siddur, there's some psukim right after, so you could be yotzei. You made the bracha and you started learning. Let's say you didn't learn right after. Do you have to make another bracha? No. Let's say you learned a little bit in the morning and then you went out to work, You went to go take care of business, you sold a couple of cars, or whatever it is that you did in the interim, right? Then you come back. You make a new bracha Torah when you sit down and learn again? No. You make one bracha in the morning and that's it. You're good to go throughout the whole entire day. Gemara in Sukkah, Taisus asked a Shaila, how come when you, by a Sukkah, right, every time you eat a Suda, you make another bracha? They were kovea the bracha and something came to duru, and every time you eat a Suda in the Sukkah, you make another bracha. Why can't I just make one bracha and be yotze the whole entire time? Why every single time I have to make a new bracha? Whereas by Birchas Torah, I only make one bracha and that's it. I just make a bracha once and that's it. And the answer is because when you're eating, once the Suda is over, so you're done that episode. You know, people that tell me you go on like on a Pesach program, like one of these Pesach hotels, right? So you have breakfast, and then once breakfast is over, so you're looking forward to like what's for lunch, right? Then once lunch is over, you're like curious, I wonder what's going to be for dinner, right? One of these things when like you're really bored, so you're just looking forward. You know, the kid like in camp who doesn't play any sports and he's not involved in anything, he's like kind of curious, like what's for lunch, you know, and then what's for supper. Then I wonder what's going to be for breakfast. Like but once that meal ended, it's a new episode. It's something else. By Torah, you make a bracha on the Torah, even though we have an allowance to stop for other things, but we're supposed to continue living our life of Torah. And you're invested in your life of Torah. And what you do in Torah, how you act in Torah, everything that you do is a life of Torah. And therefore, when you're going out to business, you're still living your life of Torah. I got to know what a heter iska is in business, and I got to know what a prosbul is in business, and I got to know what ona is in business, and I got to know what sheker in business, and I got to know how to formulate a shtar in business. If I'm going out to business, I got to know my halachot. I got to know hilchas yichud, what I'm allowed to say, right? Or maybe like there's a worker in the house and the guy's on the phone and he tells his wife, "Oh, I'm stuck in the city. I'm not going to be over." Maybe that's yichud. You got to know halachot. The life that you live, you got to know. You got to be involved. You have a dog at home. Maybe shalom hilchas Shabbos. What you're allowed to do with the dog and your animal. What you're not allowed to do with your animal. The life that you're living has to be one that you're living Torah everywhere you go. It's with you. That your life of Torah is wherever you go, that's where it is. What's the halachas of kibud avim, of kavod chaverim? What's the halachas of a basic knesses? I'm a barber. I'm learning makas and I'm a barber, but I don't know what I'm allowed to cut around the ears. Where a person has to know. You have to be up to date in what you're doing. And therefore, lo bechu b'torah tchila, meaning wherever they started learning, because the reason is that there was hefsekim, there were stops. They weren't continuing in what they were doing. There wasn't a constant flow. There was a break in their life of Torah that they learned, and then they did their thing. It was a completely isolated incident. It was mashu acher. I went to work, it was something else. Then I came back to Torah, I was taka chayv in a new bracha. Chayv a new bracha. The Shainim worked very, very hard. Very, very hard. They thrashed, they plowed the field, they sowed, they planted, they cut, they ground, they did boel, they learned stark. They went through the whole process to grind everything out stark. Also us, we have to learn stark. Fine. Even Ezra says, it brings down one of the Asat HaDibrot. We'll skip around just a little bit. The Asat HaDibrot says, Lo tachmod. You're not allowed to be jealous. That's an emotion. No? Tell me not to eat a matzah, to sit in a sukkah, to shake a lulav.
Be angry.
Don't be angry, right? Right? Don't be, but it says lo tachmod. Rega, let's do lo tachmod, right? So I shouldn't desire somebody else's stuff. How could I do it? How could I not be jealous? How could I not desire something? No, that's a big command over there. You could tell me to do an action or don't do an action, but to tell me an emotion, lo tachmod ech yichol liyot. How could it be such a thing? How could such a thing be? So he says that a person could be trained very, very well. That if you're trained from youth, you'll see that things that are not nogea to you, you don't desire. You might think they're amazing, but you don't desire. You have a little village boy who grew up in some village far out, and he sees the queen. You know, he doesn't think like, oh, I'm going to marry the princess. He might be awed by the whole entire scene and the changing of the guards, but he has no shaykhs to that dynasty. It's not his world. When it's not your world, it's not shaykh to you, it's not something you can desire. You might appreciate it, you might think it looks cool, but it's no shaykhs to you. Not jealous. I might like it, a guy who's 55 years old and one day wakes up and he says, I want to be in the NFL. I'm sorry to break it to you. You're probably like in the rule book or two, you know what I mean? It's not going to happen. But he's not going to be jealous. He might he might be crazy about it, but he's not going to be jealous of chemda, like I want it, you took mine. A bird could fly. You know, what would somebody pay for the ability to fly if it became an option? Probably a lot of money. A lot of money, no? You take this pill and all of a sudden you could produce wings that pull out of your back and you could soar. And also, they also fold up and go back in, no one will see them, it's fine. You won't look weird either. They pull out of your back and you could just soar. You just soar like an eagle, nothing difficult. Just open them up and what would somebody pay? But nobody looks at a bird and is jealous. Because it's not our world to fly. It's not shaykh. It's not shaykh to me. I see it, I appreciate it. I think it's the coolest thing ever and I wish I could do it, but I'm not jealous of the bird that I can't fly because it's not my world. A person could work out so much, buff, right, lifting, pulling weights, chazak, but a bull can come and just pull a lot more than anybody else, no problem, without even thinking about it, bitaut, by accident. Elephants in the African jungle with their trunk, they carry trees across from one side to the other side. You can't move trees, you can't move nothing of a tree. With their nose, try it with your nose, right? But you're not jealous of it. It's not your world. It's not shaykh. It's beyond you. If a person understands with the clarity that it's not yours, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave you your stuff and he gave the other person his stuff. It's not yours. It doesn't belong to you. If you know it's not yours, you're not jealous anymore. It's not your world. You have to understand things are not your world. It could look like it. It could be very close, even within reach. If you get it in your mind, it's not your world. You'll be loved and you'll love yourself. You'll be very, very happy. Lo tachmod. We could train ourselves. You could train a guy. If you could train a bear to do tricks, and you could train elephants to stand on one foot, and lions to give you your paw, you could train yourself also. From youth, we all know. You know this secret. You take a little kid shopping. Little kid, be careful from aisle 7. Aisle 7, the candy aisle, be very, very careful. You walk in there, and before you know it, the kid could throw a tantrum, like, I want this candy! And they're doing the fireman roll, they drop on the floor, and they're rolling and screaming and yelling. And the Jewish custom is, how do you break him out of that trance? How do you get him out of that kriza, that he's completely consumed and overtaken by chaos and desire and lust for candy, he can't get out of it? What are the 3 magic words? It's not kosher. You tell him it's not kosher, and boom, he snaps out of it. Like, okay. That works. That in 10 seconds ago, he was sunken in shakua, chazak, in the world of chaos and rage and dying if I don't get it. And 3 words, it's not kosher. That you could see, you could train yourself. That if it's not mine. He thought it was his world, so he thought he can get it, and he will do whatever he possibly could to get it. And the second he understood it's not part of his world, there was nothing. It didn't exist. How quickly did it go away?
Are you allowed to lie for that? Like if it's a kosher candy?
Depends how much it cost. The R Kadosh says, in the pasuk it says, "Bayom hazeh ba'u midbar Sinai." This is one of my favorites. It says in Shavuos that this day, Bayom hazeh ba'u midbar Sinai, Kal Yisrael came to midbar Sinai, and then the next pasuk says, "Vayisru mirifidim vayavo midbar Sinai." They left Refidim and they came to midbar Sinai. The Torah just repeated itself. It said, listen to these words, okay? This day they came to Midbar Sinai. Then the next pasuk says, they left Refidim and they came to Midbar Sinai. What happened over here? So the Or Kadosh says, the Torah was so excited that Klal Yisrael came to Midbar Sinai that it blurted out, they're here! They left Refidim and they came to Midbar Sinai. Because ahava mekalkelet et hashorah. Love destroys order. Love destroys order. When somebody loves, it destroys order. Hashem told Avraham, that was our first zechut. Hashem told Avraham, go do a mitzvah, v'yashkem baboker. It's not, he saddled the donkeys himself. He got everything ready himself. He's Avraham Avinu. You'll never see a president putting gas in the car himself. No, I got an important meeting for America. Like he's putting the gas in the car. It's not happening. But but love destroys order. That you'll see a big boss businessman, Tough guy in the office. He has 30,000 people under him. He's pulling millions of dollars a year in. He's stone cold. He doesn't flinch. Everybody's quiet when he walks by. And all of a sudden he comes home to his new baby and he's like, Ahava, love destroys order. Things he wouldn't do, all of a sudden out of love, it destroys something that takes him out of his world. He's doing something that he wouldn't do. You work hard to build yourself up the company ladder, and all of a sudden the boss's son comes, ripped jeans, half a purple head, 7 earrings, 1 earlobe like this, and he's taking over the company, and you're like, 15 years of climbing up the ladder, and this, what? Ahava, love destroys order. Love makes you do things out of order. He said the Torah has an order, and the Torah was in love so badly, waiting for Klal Yisrael to come be mekabel the Torah, that it got so excited and it jumped and it blurted out, "They're here!" And then the Torah had to come back and say, "V'yitzum me'chfidim ve'yavo midbar Sinai." And says the Or Chaim HaKadosh, he says these words. See here? Do I have it right here? Well, I have it over there. You see? I don't know, but I remember he says like this. He says, "Ki yom zeh." He says, "This is the day, Yom hamikaveh zeh." This is the day of everyone's waiting, anticipating. La malachim, la elyonim, la tachtonim, la olam. The whole entire world, yoshvim u'metzapim. They're waiting in great anticipation. Matai yavo midbar Sinai. When are they going to come to midbar Sinai? The whole world was waiting for Klal Yisrael to come and accept the Torah. They're waiting on edge so badly in Shemayim above and in the world below, waiting so badly for us to be mekabel the Torah. Matai yavo lekabel the Torah, when they're coming. And therefore, when they finally saw us, they got so excited that they blurted out. V'yisum, and there's a qualifications to accept the Torah. V'yisum refidim, raf yadai means weak. For Torah, you got to man up. For Torah, you got to be strong. For Torah, sometimes I'm a little tired. Too bad. To get yourself revved up. Sometimes you're uncomfortable. Make yourself comfortable. You're going to see things are going to fizzle out. The more picky you are, the more of a baby you are, the more delicate you are, the less you're going to become. The stronger you are, the more you're able to be sovel, the more you're able to tolerate, the more you push yourself, the greater you become, the more you're going to want. V'yisum refidim, raf yadayim. Raf yadayim means weak-handed. They strengthened, they left that place of refidim. Ubao midbar. You know what midbar is? Is a desert. Everybody could step on a desert. Bring it on. Anyone can step on the desert. Nothing phases you. You're a midbar, you're open. V'ichan sham ha'am. Ish echad lev echad, one nation under God, everyone together. An achdus, a strength, an ability to tolerate is something that's necessary for Kabbalah Torah, something that you'll get. Asher misha ba'ale kan v'talmudo b'yado. The Gemara says this pasuk, and when a person goes to a shir, the Parshas says, Asher misha ba'ale kan, praiseworthy is the one who comes there. V'talmudo b'yado. The Parshas says, write down your shiurim. However, write down stuff. Write things down. You hear things, you like things talk to you. Write it down. Misha balakan v'talmudo b'yado. It doesn't say Asher misha balakan v'talmudo berosho, in your head. It doesn't say Asher misha balakan v'talmudo b'mocho, b'kadkado, b'sichlo. It doesn't say any of that stuff. It says Asher misha balakan v'talmudo b'yado. Who has his Talmud in his hands? What does that mean? It means that you're acting out what you learned. You could learn things and act a different way. That's not good. You learn and you practice what you learn. And the way to remember what you learned is to write it down. You ever hear Kaneh lecha chaver? You ever hear that before? Buy yourself a friend?
All day.
Kaneh lecha chaver is also a quill. That's what you use to write with. Kaneh, that's lecha chaver. That's a friend for you. Get yourself a friend that writes, a pen, and write down your Torah. Kaneh, he should be your friend. The quill should be your friend. You hear that? The quill is very soft. The quill is bendable. The quill is mevater. It could bend either way. That's why it was zocheh to be the one that writes Torah, writes mezuzot, writes tefillin. You have to do it with a quill, because the midah of a quill is to let things go. But asher misha balakan v'talmudo b'yado. Do one more. Last one. At the end of the parsha, after the Asarat Dibrot. Parshas. Okay, I'll say it for a different time. It says, Hashem says, Hina anochi ba'alecha ba'ava anan. I'm coming to you in a cloud, in a thick cloud. And the Rishbam says, Av v'choshech. An anan is a covering, is a mechitza. Moshe Rabbeinu went into the anan. The anan, a cloud, is a mechitza. That's what the Shekhinah was. The Shekhinah was so potent, was so intense, you wouldn't be able to tolerate it, you wouldn't be able to handle it. So you needed a mechitza. Because people think, unfortunately, that a mechitza makes you further away, but the reality is that usually the mechitza allows you to come closer. A mechitza allows you to come closer. Fire and water, they don't coexist. But if you put a mechitza, if you put the water in a pot, then you have the water in the pot and the fire underneath, the fire and water will coexist. Okay? But if there's no pot there, one of them is going to win. The mechitza allows them to become very, very close. You can't look at the sun, it's not good for you. If you're wearing sunglasses, you put on a mechitza, you can look at the sun. The mechitza allows you to come closer. In the shul, men and women do not sit together, but wherever the mechitza is, it's up to that line. The reality is the mechitza could bring you closer, not further away. HaKadosh Baruch Hu came ba'ava anan because you can't tolerate that potency. You can't do it. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu put a mechitza there and he allowed us to come closer. I'm sorry, I lied. One more. I have to say this last one, okay?
Sure.
This is a fun one. This is a fun one. The Medrash says Hashem was giving Torah, right? Anochi Hashem Elokecha. Right? Hashem came down, Asarat HaDibot, Anochi Hashem Elokecha. The little aleph, you're truly saying it, right? The little aleph is Anav. The little aleph is the Anav. Hashem started Anochi with an aleph because the aleph is an Anav. He's humble. All the other letters are much greater than him, but the aleph is the Anav. It's number one. All the other numbers, 400, 200, 50, 80. So the letters came to Kadosh Baruch Hu and asked Hashem, start with me, create the world with me. The aleph didn't come because the aleph was an Anav. So Hashem chose the aleph to say Anochi Hashem Elokecha, to start off with the aleph. Hashem chose Har Sinai because it was the lowest mountain. Hashem chose Moshe because he was Anav Mikol Adam. Are we getting the flow over here? And we're getting the flow. Hashem loves Anivas. Hashem loves a person to be an Anav. Anav is not a pushover. Anav is somebody who's small. In fact, we learn Anivas, Me'od Me'od Havishval Ruach, be very, very humble. Me'od is Rosheh Tevot, Moshe, Avraham, and David. Moshe Rabbeinu is Anav Mikol Adam. Avraham Avinu says, Anochi Efer Va'afar, I'm nothing. David the Melech says, Ani Tolat, I'm a worm. They were very big figures in our world. The biggest of the big, the strongest of the strong. Yet they were Anav. Because Anivas doesn't mean that you're not proud of yourself and you're not successful and accomplished. Anivas just means that you don't hold yourself better of anybody else. If Hashem wanted me to be as smart as you, so He would have made me as smart as you. But you're smarter than me. But that's because that's how Hashem made you. You can fly, I can't, right? Because if Hashem wanted me to fly, He would have gave me wings. But He didn't. I have my stuff and I have to be worried that I'm not using my stuff as much as I possibly can. But my success makes me proud, but not better than anybody else. Moshe Rabbeinu was Anav Mikol Adam. He led us 40 years in the desert. He brought us through Kriyat Yam Suf, through the Esel Makot, in the Midbar, with the Slav, with the complainers, with Korach, fighting Amalek, fighting wars, holding up Klal Yisrael. He was Anav Mikol Adam. He knew who he was. He was proud of himself. He knew his strengths. At the same time, he's worried, I'm not doing enough. But Yanav doesn't make a difference to anybody else. You can't shoot somebody. If somebody puts a gun to your head and says, shoot somebody else, you can't shoot them. Now, even if the guy says, shoot me, I let you shoot me, you're not allowed to do it. Because who says your blood is redder than his?
So you're a rabbi.
Even if you're a rabbi. Even if you're a rabbi, you could be a big rabbi, and the rabbi's pointing the gun at you. And someone's pointing the gun at the rabbi. And you say, Rabbi, Klal Yisrael needs you more than they need me. Shoot me. He's not allowed to do that. He can't do it. Who knows the scales in Shemayim? I don't know you, Nisyonis. I don't know where you came from. I don't know what it takes you to learn one blot versus him to learn one blot. I don't know your kalim, your struggles, your family, your background, your intuition, your talents, your struggle. I don't know. That's Shemayim scales. They're not our scales.
Well, what if, like, let's say the Nazis or something, they say, either you or the rebel or you, like, you say you can't.
Pick?
Yeah.
You pick. You're not allowed to turn somebody in. But again,
No, say me. The rabbi has a whole chassidus.
oh, you want to volunteer?
No, let's say like they say I'll take him, but you volunteer. Like, listen, I'll go in instead. He has a whole chassidus.
He has a separate shala. He's not allowed to kill you.
What?
He's not allowed to kill you.
Oh, you're saying like that?
Yeah, he's not allowed to kill you. That's it. Yeah, because everybody has their own nisyonot. But you do see clear that Hashem loves the anav. Hashem loves you. That's what He wants. Moshe Rabbeinu anav mikol adam. He gave the Torah on Har Sinai. He gave it, which is the lowest mountain, right? He gave it in the midbar. Midbar, there's nothing there. You have to be an anav. You have to be willing for people to walk in at any time and step on you. That's what anivus is. Just like you're there for others. You're there for others. Something that HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves so much that we see very clear. See very, very clear. Shall be zochet to get this midah of anivus, get this midah of Talmud Torah, to live the life of Torah. Ashemi shebal lekar v'talmudo biyado in your hand, that you practiced everything that you learned. Without Hashem, we should be zochet to only true greatest of Kabbalat Torah.
Oh, okay.
I mean,